And we'll see how this goes, because when I practiced this, it was a little iffy. All right, so you should see something pop up. Does everybody see that? And you see the start of my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so I know both of you have been on Epics. You kind of have this general overview, but I'm just going to run through it just in case there's anything that might be new for you. So this is basically outlining what Epic has to offer. So there is an age guideline. It's meant for kids 12 and under, which obviously isn't an issue for us at Freeman because that encompasses everybody who attends there. You also create student profiles, and those can be personalized by student interest. So if you haven't already done it, you can have students set up their own profile. It's going to ask them for their age. It's also going to ask them to indicate some interests that they have, like jokes or animals or magic, those kinds of things. And they use that information to generate a recommendation list of books to get them started. The reading log portion of it is an interesting thing to use in really whatever way that you want. It gives a lot of detailed information. And when we get to the point of talking about teacher and student accounts in the next PD in your PJs, we'll go into more detail. I'll show you what it looks like. But basically, the logs give you the name of the book that they've read, the date that they started it, whether they've finished it or it's still unfinished, the length of time that they spent reading the book. So you know if it's a 56-page book and they read it in 2 minutes that they didn't really read it. It also will give you the number of pages that they flipped or turned. And it also gives you like a percentage bar for how much of the book was completed. It's available across all devices. So if the kids decide to get a home account, they can use it on any iPad, iPhone, any of the Android devices or tablets, and also on any computer. And of course, it's free. I've talked about this a lot, and the reason that I love this is probably one of my most favorite apps is because even the most reluctant kids, even the non-readers, end up loving and falling in love with Epic. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think the biggest one is that there's no shame with Epic, whereas back in the day when we just had regular books in our classroom libraries, I remember when I taught third grade, I had a kiddo that was reading at a first grade level, and he every day inevitably would pull out a Harry Potter book, which I knew full well he couldn't read, but he just wanted to be like all the other kids that were reading Harry Potter. And he was embarrassed, he told me, because he didn't want to read baby books. And so this eliminates that because it puts them all on an even playing field, so to speak, when it comes to reading. They could be reading any level book and no one's going to know the difference because they're all on an iPad and no one can know exactly what it is that they're reading. They love the wide array of choices that they have, and they actually get so excited about books that they find that sometimes in my own classroom, I have to get them to quiet down because they want to talk to each other about a new book that they found. And then they're helping them search for the title in order to read it on their own device. So I think it's just a really great tool because they have choice in what they read. They can have access to so many more books than I could ever dream of offering in my own classroom. And then also there's all kinds of genres. And depending on how you use it in your classroom, it could be for research. It could just be to expose them to those different genres. There's always something new. Every day, a kid will discover something that they've put up as a featured book and start talking to all their friends about it. So I think that's a great thing. All right, so we're going to get into some of the specifics. And again, I know both of you have kind of seen some of the books that are on Epic, but over 25,000 books. It's such a nice resolution, just like it is for adults when we read ebooks. Much more crisp and clear illustrations and lots of great features too when it comes to what they have available. One of the most useful things I see for primary grades especially is the Read to Me books. So there is a ton of these, and there's actually two different categories. These that are shown on the screen here are Read to Me books. And so they have a green bar at the bottom. Those books are read to the kids, and they just added a feature in the recent update where the words are highlighted for them as it's being read to them, which helps for word recognition, one-to-one correspondence, and that kind of thing. There's also audiobooks, which have a purple bar at the bottom of the cover, and those are just read, just like a normal audiobook that we would read as adults. So there's no book in front of them, but it's just straight audio of the story being read to them. So the educational videos, some see this as a great thing, others see it not so great. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. This is a feature that you can turn off. So if you don't want them to have access to the educational videos in the settings as the teacher, you can turn it off. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. All of the videos are educational. They've all been screened, so there's nothing inappropriate there. Teachers choose to handle this in different ways. I know Susan in second grade has it set up so that she turns this on only on Fridays, and it's kind of a special treat if the kids want to watch videos during their independent reading time, then she turns that on for Friday. In my class, I usually hold off and keep it turned off until second semester, and then I do the same thing. I usually choose Fridays also and then turn them on for the kids if they choose to do that. And then obviously I ask them to wear their headphones so they're not disrupting the rest of the class. Nonfiction texts, there's a ton, and what I think is the most awesome thing about this is that there's all kinds of levels of nonfiction text. So it's not just for the upper grades, there's lots there for the primary grades, whether you're going to use them for research or in the case of first grade. For me, I use this a lot to show examples of text features. So you can run the whole gamut. You can find books that have table of contents, index, glossary, all those kinds of things. So it's good exposure for them to see that in their own e-library. Another nice thing that they do is featured book collections. So the one that we're looking at is Big Nate, but they do all different kinds of collections. So it's usually a series of books or books grouped together by author. And the kids get really excited about this, especially if there's a certain series that they like, because it gives them lots of choices for continuing on in a series. So it's nice that they put those up there for them. One of the things that I'll talk about in another PD session is teacher-created collections, which I've used quite a bit. You can create your own collection for your students. You can also make that collection public so that it's available for other teachers that are on EPIC to see when they search for something specific. So for example, if you wanted the kids to read about St. Patrick's Day and you pulled together a collection of books on St. Patrick's Day, and you made that collection public, if another teacher goes on EPIC and searches St. Patrick's Day, your collection you put together would come up amongst several others, I'm assuming, that are in there on St. Patrick's Day. So it's kind of a neat feature that you can use some of the work that other teachers have already done instead of having to recreate the wheel yourself. This just kind of outlines, you know, a wide range of interests that kids have. We all know a lot of kids like animals, books that are funny or books of jokes. So there's all kinds of things that they can choose from there. And like I said, it learns their likes and their dislikes. So if they read a lot of books that have to do with animals, it will start pulling up a lot more recommendations that are in that genre and for them to look at and consider to read. All right, so this is just some ideas as we go into our last 5 minutes here of how to use it in the classroom. This is probably where I use it the most in Daily 5. So as you both know, part of Daily 5 is read self, read with someone, and listening to reading. So I give, I will say last year, I gave them the choice between my traditional library and reading on EPIC for all of those. And I found that they started to rely too much on EPIC. I wanted to make sure that they were putting actual books in their hands at some point in the day. So this year, that was a change that I made. I let them, when they come in the morning, after they do all of their lunch count and turning in homework and notes and things like that, they get to get right on EPIC and they read until about 8:15. on Epic. Then during Daily 5, Read to Self has to be from an actual book in their book bin. And then, of course, we use Epic for listen to reading. And then Read with Someone, I give them the choice of Epic and a traditional book, just to try to keep some balance there. You can also use it for your guided reading groups or your intervention groups. If you have devices for everybody in your group, then you can use it just like you would use any other traditional book. This is just showing students using it for listen to reading. Obviously, when we read aloud books to our students, just like listening to reading, it exposes them to good fluency, pacing, expression, that kind of thing. This is interactive whiteboard, and I know we don't have interactive whiteboards, but ours works the same with projecting. If you obviously have to use your laptop, because those of you that don't have an Apple TV, you can't project from an iPad, but if you use your laptop, you can project books on your screen and then use them for shared reading lessons. Okay, this just runs through a couple more ideas. So again, whole class reading, having all the students read and discuss the same book, small group reading, free reading, and then research, which I know, especially in the upper grades, becomes more and more frequent. And so this puts it right at their fingertips instead of having to rely on getting books from the LMC and having them all checked out, or having to find a way for families to get to the public library, or from having to buy books. All right. That's it. So I know, again, that both of you are on Epic, but if you want to get more information before our next PD, obviously you can look at the website. They have a lot of great resources. I'll do the exact same little quick thing on Thursday at 7:30, and then in that one, I'm going to get into setting up your teacher account, setting up your student accounts, and then all the settings that go into doing that. And it'll be on Big Blue Button here. Is there any questions that you guys have? We have 2 minutes.
I don't have any questions as of right now, but it was still very helpful.
Okay, glad to hear that, because I was worried because I know you both use it.
Yeah, I'm still getting familiar with it, so.
How about you, Angie? Any questions?
Well, can they search for titles?
They absolutely can. They can search for titles, they can search for authors. As a teacher, you can search for subject, titles, author, and also levels. Right now, all they have is, I think, Lexile level, and I think that they're working on getting guided reading levels, so I'm hoping that that's coming soon.
Okay, so basically you could have like 5 students on the same story if they can search for the title and use that as like a shared book together in guided reading if you wanted to.
Yes, and actually when I do a later training, there's a way to assign books to either the whole class or to certain specific kids. So that would be a fast, like especially for the little kids, because it takes them so long to type out a title or an author or a subject. So you can just assign a book or a collection of books, and then they get a little notification on their screen that they've been assigned a book to read. And then you can see when they've read those books, or if they've started those books, how far they are in them, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Not for right now.
All right, guys. Well, thanks
Thank you.
for logging in and doing this with me for the first time.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, good. All right.
All right.
Well,
See you tomorrow.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.